Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. So today I wanted to talk about some of my favorite makeup collections. I love when brands either collab with movies, shows, etc. or just create collections of makeup, usually eyeshadow palettes, that are just all within the same theme, so they have like similar packaging and stuff. So I just wanted to go through some of my favorites that I have in my collection. I think I have about 8 to talk about, so definitely stay tuned. But first, if you have not subscribed, I would really appreciate it. I am trying to reach 500 subscribers by the end of October. We are getting so close, so if you are willing to subscribe, I would be so thankful. And with that, we can jump right into the video. Alright, so I want to start with one of my favorite brands, and that is Rude Cosmetics. So I want to start with their Roaring 20s collection. So I do have an affiliate link and discount code with Rude Cosmetics if you are interested in checking anything out from them. It is always linked in my description box, and you can use my code JJBeauty for 15% off. But going into this collection, I am obsessed with the Roaring 20s, so when I saw this collection they had come out with, I was so excited. They started with either just this one or these two, and then have released the other ones as time has gone on. So there are currently 5 palettes within this collection, and they also recently came out with blushes, which I haven't picked up yet, but there are a couple on my wish list that I am definitely eyeing, and probably when I place my next order from Rude Cosmetics, I will definitely be picking those ones up. But talking about the eyeshadow palettes, like I said, there are 5 of these currently. So this first one here is the Carefree palette. So they all have similar packaging with the Roaring 20s laid out here, and then a cute little flapper on each of these, which I think is just so much fun. So this first one here is so pretty. It's kind of a pinky purple neutral palette. This one is so easy to use for every day. I think it is beautiful. I feel like you can definitely tell I have used and loved this palette. I have some pans in here, some dips going, and this one is just, like I said, super easy to use, so I absolutely love this one. Next we have the Reckless palette. So this one is a little bit more on the colorful side. So this one has some really nice jewel tone shades. It's a lot of fun to play around with. I have created quite a few looks with this palette that I just absolutely love. I think it's so fun to experiment with the different color combos you can use in this palette, and I just love that they came out with a more colorful option for this collection. So this one is so much fun to play around with, and the quality on all of these is really nice. These I think are about $22, and I think they perform really nicely. You get 20 shades in here, so I feel like that's a pretty good price. At least to me, that feels on the more inexpensive end, but I just really love these ones. Next up we have probably their most colorful, and this is the Neons palette. This one is so much fun. When I first got this palette, I wasn't super into colorful makeup. I had just gotten it because it was a part of this collection, but as I have gotten more comfortable with makeup and with colorful eyeshadow, I have fallen more and more in love with this palette. I think it is just so much fun. It is one of the most fun palettes to play around with, create looks with, and there are still looks in here that I would consider wearable. So very fun to play around with this one. This one is definitely one of my favorites in this collection, especially for a more colorful, fun palette. So next up we have the Excessive palette, and if you can tell by the packaging, this one is another more neutral pinky palette. I do think this one is super pretty and again super easy to use. I did almost skip on this palette. I skipped on this one for a while actually, and then I had found it at my local Marshall's, and it was a little more discounted than it would be if I had gotten it online. And I was like, you know, I have the first 3 palettes. I'm gonna pick this one up, and I'm really happy I did. I think this one is really pretty. It has some really nice shades, easy to use shades. I love these kind of mauve-y tones over here. Those are some of my favorite to use on my eyes, and this one is just super pretty, so definitely no regrets picking this one up. I regret not picking it up sooner, in fact. I just really think this one is super pretty. The one downside to this one is this shade right here that I just don't know what to do with those shades. I don't like those shades. I don't like the look of them, but it's 1 shade out of 20, so I can forgive that for sure. Alright, then their most recent addition to this collection is the Indulgence palette, and this one is more of your warm tone and true neutrals. So I do think this one is really pretty as well. Again, super easy to use. I think it does have a few fun little pops in here that you wouldn't really expect. So it makes it a little bit more exciting than your just traditional neutral palette, which I do think is really nice. And I have used this one quite a bit. It is obviously the newest one in this collection, so it might not have as much use as some of the older ones, but it is one that I have had some fun reaching for and will continue to reach for in the future as well. So yeah, I just really love all of these palettes. So again, this is the Roaring 20s collection from Rude Cosmetics, and again, I do have an affiliate link and discount code if you are interested in using that to check anything out. I would love to see more palettes come out of this collection. I would specifically love to see more colorful palettes come out of this collection, but I also think it would be super fun to see a very cool toned palette. So hopefully they have some more palettes in the works. I know there are already 5 of them, but I just love this collection so much and would love to see more. Alright, sticking with Rude Cosmetics, I want to talk about their Peanuts collection. So I didn't pick up the entire Peanuts collection when they released it. I only have a handful of products, but I am really happy with the ones that I do have. I kind of regret not picking up their cool toned eyeshadow palette with this one, but I didn't think I needed it at the time, and that's probably true, but it is super, super pretty. But I'm really happy with the products that I do have from them. So starting with some lip products over here, we have a little tinted lip balm, and Sally is my favorite character other than Woodstock. So I really wanted to pick this one up. It's super pretty. It's a nice light pink color, and it actually feels really hydrating on the lips, so that is super nice. Next, I got their little lip plumper trio. I will be honest, I do not use these very often. I had just gotten them because I wanted to test out a lip plumper. I had never tested one out before, so I decided to just go for it with this collection. They're not my absolute favorite product, just based on what they are. It has nothing to do with this product specifically. I'm just really not a big lip plumper fan, I have found. So I still have these. They're nice, but I just don't use them a ton. Next we have this Shine Control setting spray. I got this solely because Woodstock was on it, and I'm a huge Woodstock fan. He's definitely my favorite. It is a pretty nice setting spray as well. I do wish the mist was a little not as direct, but it is still pretty nice, and I have definitely used that one quite a bit. Then we have the waterproof mascara. I was gonna get the other mascara that they came out with, but I really wanted the classic Charlie Brown packaging for the mascara, and I do really enjoy this one. It has grown on me the more I use it. I think it definitely darkens my lashes, lengthens them a little bit, and I use that one for kind of more dramatic looks, so I do really enjoy that one. And last we have this face palette. This is definitely my favorite thing from this collection. I knew it was going to be when I first saw this collection. So this is their little face palette. So it has 2 blushes, a contour shade, and a highlight shade. and it has a little Snoopy up here, which is super cute. These shades just perform really well, especially for my skin tone. I don't use this darker blush shade as much just because I'm not the biggest blush person, but I do really like these three shades over here. I feel like they work really well. I feel like it's a little different for me to purchase a collection or part of a collection and not get an eyeshadow palette, but I am so happy with the products that I did pick up from this collection, and I just think it's so much fun, and I believe these products are still available if you're interested in checking them out. Alright, moving back to eyeshadow palettes, I have the entire I Heart Revolution and Disney Princess collection. So there are 10 eyeshadow palettes in this collection, and I feel like they would have done more, but I Heart Revolution kind of stopped being a brand and they just kind of went to their main brand, which was Makeup Revolution, and they just stopped making these palettes, which I was super disappointed about because I absolutely love these palettes. They are definitely not the best quality, but I thought they were so much fun, and I am a huge Disney Princess fan, so these ones were just so much fun to me, and I had really enjoyed collecting them. I think they look so cute displayed on a bookshelf because they look like little books here, as you can see. So I really, really loved these, and I am so sad that they stopped coming out with them. There are definitely princesses missing, and I feel like they should have continued, but unfortunately, we only have these 10, which is still a good number. I just would have loved to see the rest of the Disney Princess movies finished off with this. So I am just going to run through these super quickly so you can see the insides. I have a ton of videos on each of these palettes, so I will definitely link my playlist up in the cards if you are interested in checking that out. So these do come with 18 eyeshadows and 6 face shades, usually 3 blushes and 3 highlighters. One of these palettes does have bronzers instead of blushes, which I do think was a super fun addition to this collection. This one right here, the Tangled one, is one of my absolute favorites, as is this one here. This is the Beauty and the Beast. I think this one is just really pretty, a nice kind of neutral option, so I really love this one. But yeah, like I said, I have many looks, many videos with each of these palettes. I did a video, it was probably last year now, using each of these palettes in one video, so that one was super fun, pretty time consuming, but I did really enjoy that. I feel like these palettes allow me to be a little bit more creative with my makeup just because they are typically more on the colorful side, and you have a big variety of shades with having 18 shades. So these ones are all just really pretty, and I think they are some of my favorites. Like I said, these aren't the absolute best quality, but I still think they are so much fun to play around with. This is the palette here that has the bronzers, so I love these ones. So that is the Princess collection from I Heart Revolution. Easily another one of my absolute favorites. And sticking with the princess theme, I'm going to talk about the Disney Designer Collection from ColourPop. So if you know me, you know how much I love this collection. So they first came out with the It's a Princess Thing palette and a set of lipsticks to go with each of the princesses that were on their packaging here. I had picked this one up later, but this is the Ariel lipstick, and it's just a really gorgeous neutral shade. I think it's so pretty. I don't wear lipstick a ton, but this is definitely a shade I would reach for if I'm going to be wearing some lipstick, so absolutely love that one. And getting into the palettes, this is their It's a Princess Thing palette, and you guys already know that this is my favorite palette in my entire collection. I definitely couldn't do this video talking about my favorite collections without mentioning this one. So this is just a nice neutral palette. It has a couple more fun pops of color in here, and I just think it's absolutely gorgeous. It performs super nicely, and this is just easily my favorite palette. I absolutely love it. I could go on and on about it, but I talk about this one a lot in my videos, so I am going to move right along to the Midnight Masquerade palette. This is their kind of second installment to the Disney Designer Collection. They had come out with a Villains palette. I'm not sure if it was specifically part of this collection, and I do kind of regret not picking that one up at the time, but it wasn't exactly my style at the time it came out, and I was definitely more into these princess palettes. So this is the Midnight Masquerade one, and here is what this one looks like. I think this one is super pretty as well. This one is probably in my top 5 palettes in my collection, so definitely really high up there as well. I just think this color story is super pretty. I love that you get a number of more mattes in this one than the previous one, and I think the shades in here are super pretty. It does have a couple pressed glitters, which aren't my favorite, but other than that, I do love the shades in this one as well. So moving on with ColourPop, I have part of their Harry Potter Back to Hogwarts collection. So I picked up the eyeshadow palette and one of their lip balms. I also picked up a lip balm for my mom as well. I got her the Hufflepuff one because she is a Hufflepuff, and I got me the Gryffindor one because I am a Gryffindor. So this is, it looks red. It's not really that tinted or anything, but this is super nice. It actually feels really nice on the lips as well, so I do really like this one. And then the eyeshadow palette, of course, is my favorite from the collection. I am a huge eyeshadow fan. So here is this palette. I think it is so pretty, and it's so much fun to play around with. You get such a beautiful variety of shades. I just think it's so much fun, and I am a huge Harry Potter fan, so having this palette was just so much fun. I really love it. The quality of this one is really nice as well. This has been in a couple of projects recently, so I have had some fun reaching into it, and I will definitely continue reaching into this one as well. So yeah, very, very happy to have this one in my collection as well. Alright, next we have another Harry Potter collection, and this one was from Ulta. It's not available anymore. I have a couple collections coming up here that are not available anymore, unfortunately, but I still wanted to include them because they do count for this video as being some of my favorites. So this is the Ulta Harry Potter collection. I know when this came out, there were a lot of people who were kind of disappointed by it, but I'm actually a really big fan of it. So there were 4 palettes for the 4 houses, and then there were a few other products as well, and I picked up a couple of their lip glosses. So I have the Platform 9 3/4 one, and then the Howler lip gloss, and I really love both of these. I have used them quite a bit. If I am going to be reaching for lip products, especially these days, I am going to be reaching for a lip gloss, and these ones are 2 really fun ones to reach for. So this one's kind of a peachy, iridescent kind of lip gloss, and then this one's more of a dark mauve-y tone, and it's just super pretty, and I love both of these a lot. And then getting into the palettes, we have one for each of the houses, like I said. So this first one here is the Gryffindor palette, and I love the packaging on each of these. I think it is so, so pretty. I love just the intricate line work of each of these, and I feel like they're very, very pretty. So this is the Gryffindor palette, and they are a little bit more on the subtle side, I will say, but honestly, I kind of like that. So we have your kind of berry toned neutral shades. We do have a little pop of gold. I feel like these don't maybe capture the houses as well as people were hoping for, but I feel like they are just more wearable color stories, and you still do get the vibes of the houses, so I think they're nice. I think they perform really well, and I'm really happy to have them in my collection personally. So I really love this one, and like I said earlier, I am a Gryffindor, so that one holds a special place in my heart. So next we have the Hufflepuff one, and hopefully you can see the artwork on this one as well. Again, just that similar style, which is so pretty. This one isn't my absolute favorite color story. I feel like it's a little mismatched, but I do still have some favorite shades in this palette. These yellows and golds over here are definitely some of my favorites. The purples and gray are not a favorite of mine, but they do still have a time and a place when I use this palette. But if I'm reaching into this one, I'm usually reaching for like the yellow and the gold. So I do still really enjoy this one. This was in my Project Level Up palette earlier this year as well, so I did get to know it a little bit better through that, and I do still really like this one. Next up we have the Ravenclaw one, which is probably my favorite color story. So this one has some nice neutral shades mixed in with the blues, and I just think this one is so pretty. I feel like it has a little bit of variety for it seeming kind of like a monochromatic palette, and I just really love this one. I love that I can go neutral and then you can just add in your pops of blue as well. The shade Twilight here is one of my favorites. I really love just the dark, deep navy shimmer there, and this one up here as well is super pretty. I love the shade Ghost. I think that one is gorgeous, and pairing that with the neutrals with the shade Hedwig as a nice inner corner highlight is just super pretty. And I've created quite a few looks with this palette, and I feel like I can get variety out of this, which I do really like, and that's what I look for in palettes. So yeah, this one is definitely my favorite out of these Ulta Harry Potter palettes, and I just think it is really good. And then last up is the Slytherin palette. I love the packaging on this one. I think it looks so cool. So this one is a little bit outside of my comfort zone. It's a little bit more on the grungy side. I still think it's so pretty. I actually just reached for this one a couple days ago, and I did have a lot of fun creating a look with it. It's just not one I reach for a ton. Like I said, it's a little outside of my comfort zone. I'm definitely getting more into color, but there are certain colors and certain tones of colors that still kind of push me a little bit, and this palette is definitely one of them. But with that being said, it's still so pretty, and it is one that if I want to reach into some greens or push myself a little bit, I know I have this palette and I know it's easy to use, so that makes it a little bit more wearable for me. So moving on, we have a collection from Bella Cosmetics, which I don't think they're a brand anymore. I recently tried looking them up on Instagram, and their page was just gone, so I'm a little confused. But I have a collection from them that I do really enjoy, so I'm still going to share this with you. And I feel like you can still get these palettes on, I believe it's Beauty Creations website. I feel like those two were kind of sister brands at one point, and maybe Beauty Creations just kind of took over. I don't really know the story, but I really like these palettes. This is the Flower Feels collection. So this first one up here is Daisy Days, and daisies are one of my favorite flowers, if not my favorite flower. So I really wanted to pick this one up, and I think the color story of this one is so pretty. This one is easily my favorite out of this little set. It has some nice neutral colors, but you also have a couple fun pops in here, which makes it really exciting. The shade Golden Glow right here is probably my favorite shade in this palette. They are definitely more on the subtle side, but I still think it's really fun, and these are fairly inexpensive. I feel like I paid about $12 for each of them. So I do really love this one. It's a nice neutral color story with some fun pops, which for a while this was like my ideal, and I do still really love this sort of color story because I do love my neutrals, but I do love experimenting a little bit with color, and being able to bring those in has been really nice. Next up we have the Lotus Love palette. I'm currently working on this in my Pan Those Eyeshadows project, so I have been getting a lot of love out of this one. So this is the pinky purple color story. I think this one is a lot of fun. When I first got this palette, I thought this one was going to be my favorite, but it definitely does go to the Daisy palette, but this one is still super fun. You obviously get your pinks, your purples, you get a couple fun pops of these greeny sage shades, which are super nice. You can definitely go more wearable with this. I am someone who loves a light neutral purple look, so these few shades up here are really nice for that. But you can also add in some brighter shades, which is super fun. This is just one that is really fun to play around with in my opinion, and I have really been loving getting some use on this one. Next up we have the Oh Poppy palette, and this one is your very nice warm tone palette. I recently hit pan on the shade Picnic Date, which was super fun, and this palette just really speaks to me, especially in the fall time, so I really definitely want to pull this out more during this season since we are in the fall, and I just love my warm tones during this time of year. And this one obviously has those. This one is a lot of fun to play around with. It does have a pressed glitter, which isn't my favorite. I do have pan on that pressed glitter actually because I used it on my nails a few times. But other than that, I do really enjoy the other shades in here. It has been super fun to reach for, and I have been able to create a small variety of looks. I feel like sometimes they turn out looking a little similar just because I kind of tend to reach for the same shades and same tones within this palette, but it's still really fun to play around with. It's not my favorite from this collection, but I do still really like it. And lastly is the Sweet Sunflower palette. So this is the neutral yellow toned palette. I really enjoy the mattes in here. I think those are probably my favorite shades within this palette. This is probably my least favorite out of the Flower Feels collection, but it is still really nice. This rustic shade, you can see I have a really nice size pan on that one. That shade is easily my favorite in this palette. It's just a nice darker mustardy toned yellow, and I think it's just so pretty. So absolutely love this one. I have a little bit of trouble reaching for some of the shimmers in this palette. If you know me, you know that I am not a yellow gold fan, and there are two of those within this palette, so those are definitely not a favorite. Those are out of my comfort zone for sure. But other than that, I do really like the shades in this palette, and I'm really happy to have this entire collection. Alright, then I have one more collection to talk about, and this is another one that's not available anymore, unfortunately, but it's one of my favorites, and it's one of the first collections that I ever bought as well. So this is the Wet n Wild and Pac-Man collection. I feel like I'm missing something from this collection, but I don't know what it is. But I bought the entire like PR box from this collection because I'm such a huge Pac-Man fan, and I was just obsessed with the collection from the moment I saw it. So it did come with quite a few products. It came with brushes. I think that might be what I'm missing. But so starting out here we have the 4 lip glosses. So I really like quite a few of these. This blue one is one that I do not use hardly at all. It's a kind of sheer blue color, but it's definitely out of my comfort zone and intimidating, but it's still fun to have. This one right here is definitely my favorite. I really enjoy the color of that one. It's a nice neutral peachy kind of more sheer shade as well, but that one is easily the most easy one to use for me. This shade right here is kind of a cool tone pink. It's kind of an interesting color. I don't reach for it a ton, but I have used it a good handful of times, and it is pretty, but you kind of need to make sure you're pairing it with the right colors, just because it does have kind of a cooler tone undertone to it. So that does make it kind of unique and interesting. And then this red one here is super pretty. It's has some pretty good pigmentation to where you are getting a pretty nice red lip. It's not probably the boldest red lip you can get, but I think it works well for me, someone who isn't going for super in-your-face looks. I really do enjoy that one. Next up here we have the Power Palettes blush and bronzer. So these are super fun. They're just kind of these little cream palettes in here, and I have reached for both of these quite a few times. Here we have the bronzer one, which I really enjoy. So these are two really nice products. I'm still using these to this day. This is an older collection and probably is expired by now, but it still performs well for me, so I'm going to keep using it because I still really enjoy these shades. Next up we have the blush palette, which I don't reach for this a ton, but it does have my probably favorite blush shade, which is this one up here. I said earlier, I'm not the biggest blush person. I feel like it looks really weird on me. I just don't really know how to do it that well, I guess, but I do really like these lighter tones like this that I can just kind of blend in with my skin a little bit more. So I do really enjoy that shade, and I've reached for the other shades in here as well, and I do think they're nice, but I definitely get the most use out of this one. And then, of course, we have the eyeshadow palette, which I love the packaging of this one, of course. And then here are the shades in this one. I was not super into color when I purchased this collection, so this one didn't get a lot of use from me, but I still absolutely loved it. And I've definitely grown more into using it lately, especially getting more into color lately. So this one is just super fun to reach for, and I do really enjoy it, especially now that I'm more into colorful makeup. So that will conclude all of the collections I wanted to talk about today. Let me know what you guys thought. What collections are some of your favorites? Give this video a thumbs up if you did enjoy. Let me know what else you would like to see from me. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss out on any future uploads. And with all of that said, I will see you in my next video. Bye!